We never know where life will lead us or what may hinder us along the way. But while every day can feel like one big question mark, it doesn't have to. With the right insights, strategies, and solutions from Western and Southern Financial Group, together we can look ahead to leave the unknown behind.
From the Cincinnati studios, Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner on Tailgate, prepping for quite the freaking week, man. We are going to Ann Arbor. And I won't say to close out the Tailgate tour because we have some other games potentially in the mix. Could be the Natty, could be the Big Ten National Championship. Who knows? Who knows? It's coming down the pike, though. But we got Ann Arbor this week. I am fucking stoked for that, man. We could be in Ann Arbor for the first time since I think the Declaration of Independence was signed, that Michigan beats Ohio State. What do you put the odds at that right now?
They've beaten Ohio State
I don't know.
before?
It's hard.
I didn't think it's in my
if a tree
lifetime,
falls
at
in the
least.
forest and no one's there to see it, did it happen?
No, I've actually never been to Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Hand up, as a bad Notre Dame fan, never had made the trip. I've heard it's an awesome time. I will be wearing Ohio State gear. I refuse. I've worn home team everywhere.
You're wearing Ohio
everywhere I've
State
gone.
gear?
I can't wear Michigan gear. That's for damn sure. So I'll be wearing Chase Young jersey.
Yikes. I'm wearing Michigan gear. I am so supportive of Ann Arbor, so supportive of Michigan. That line is that it opened at 7 in favor of Ohio State. They're now favored by 8. I might put my next month's rent on Ohio State -7.
I hate to this day. It always pisses me off. And our company sent out mugs with Michigan on them because they were our very first college client.
They were.
Michigan, of all goddamn schools, our very first college client. And so we're always gets memorialized around the office that they were the ones. Notre Dame obviously an adopter as well. But
for Michigan, Ann Arbor. For Michigan, Ohio State, we are going to be at Scorekeepers. It's a bar there, otherwise known as Skeeps, for the big game between Ohio State and Michigan. If you are in Ann Arbor, we're going to have a table. Make sure you come by and say hello. We're going to have hats. We got Ohio State hats, Michigan hats, all that stuff. Make sure you stop by. We are stoked to be going to this bar here. We got our own table all planned out here. We booked it like 2 or 3 weeks ago. Should be quite the treat, man. We are stoked to go to Ann Arbor. Shout out to Scorekeepers for holding it down for us. It's going to be, man, I am so stoked to close out the Tailgate tour in Michigan. We also got some more to catch an early buzz. Denver, man. Denver brings on big contracts for Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick, $15 million AAY and also $10 million for Patrick there. They are, in my opinion, putting up some money for these receivers to lure a big fish quarterback in free agency. I don't think this is a draft play. They're looking at Aaron Rodgers. They're looking at Russell Wilson. Maybe they're looking at, I think a tier below that is like Jimmy G, Derek Carr could be on the moves. So they want to make an upgrade, I think a veteran upgrade at quarterback, reminiscent of when Elway went after Peyton. And they're doing that with a star-studded receiving corps. Sutton, Patrick, Judy, Hamler. There is a lot. And then the tight ends, Noah Fant. They have a lot of talent there. Do you think it's enough to bring in a big fish at QB in the offseason? And what's your opinion of those contracts?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we've been talking about it all year. This roster was built. Is one of the best rosters in the NFL outside of the most important position in the NFL. And, yeah, that if you are someone on the move, someone, one of the quarterbacks who is rumored to be wanting out of their respective franchises, this is a very attractive landing spot now, and it was before that. And now, obviously, with Von Miller being traded, his money coming off the books, his contract being up this year, they have the space to do these deals. But even still, I couldn't believe, what these numbers came in at. I mean, Tim Patrick's comes in over $1 million a year AAY over what Randall Cobb got a couple years ago. $10 million? That is chump change for any caliber number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in the NFL, which I would put him in that range. He is a big-bodied possession type of wide receiver who also possesses some downfield speed. He's kind of like a better version of Allen Lazard there for them. And he's their number 3, though. When that's your number 3, that's a very good position to be in as a franchise. Cortland Sutton, we saw what he could do. He's never really had that guy at the quarterback position, and he still put up 1,000-yard years. And for his number to come in, $15 million per year, putting him below someone like Jarvis Landry, putting him in that Robbie Anderson type of range is that's a W. I mean, that's $3 million per year below what Kenny Golladay got in the open market, and I think you could say that their sort of career progressions or career sort of production is very similar to each other. And Golladay getting that much more on the open market, it has to be a win for the Broncos.
It's great business for the Broncos, and it's smart both for the short term and the long term. Even if they can't land a quarterback, both those players I think are going to exceed that average per year that they're getting. I mean, Corey Davis on the open market was considered a massive bargain at $12.5 million. Tim Patrick comes under that, and Cortland Sutton only slightly over that. I think it was fantastic business for the Denver Broncos, and you have to hope now that they land either Aaron Rodgers or Russell. I know you, a Packers owner and shareholder, don't want to see him leave, but I think Denver making a prime run for a quarterback in the offseason. Let's jump to
yes.
Duh. Let's get to the Week 11 review here, starting with Thursday Night Football. My goodness, New England Patriots come in and blank the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons were 7-point dogs at home, and still Patriots win 25-0. Here's the take. I'm going to be talking out throughout this, right? One of the biggest questions in football right now is who are the best teams in the AFC. And I think I find myself consistently putting the Patriots above some of these other contenders, like the Browns even, with the state of Baker Mayfield lately. Tennessee in a little bit of an offensive drought since losing Derrick Henry. Like, can we start talking about the Patriots? Right now, Mac Jones, rookie quarterback, not only has the best grade we've seen for a rookie quarterback in weeks 1 through 11 ever, he ranks 4th among all quarterbacks in PFF grades so far this year. New England's defense ranks 4th in EPA per play allowed or overall efficiency. The offense ranks 5th in pressure rate allowed and 4th in explosive pass rate. This is a legitimately it's a legitimate deep playoff contender for me. I know rookie quarterbacks don't go to the Super Bowl, but in an AFC where the Titans can lose to the Houston Texans at home, you have the Buffalo Bills getting absolutely destroyed by the Indianapolis Colts. Browns look awful of late. Baker Mayfield not playing well. Why not the New England Patriots in the AFC?
This is, for my money, at least the best defense in the AFC. I think it's a better
Even
defense
better than
than
Buffalo.
the Bills.
Wow.
I do. I think, one, because Bill Belichick is still Bill Belichick. Like, he hasn't lost his fastball on that side of the ball whatsoever. And it's interesting because we've talked ad nauseum about defenses around the NFL, the wave of these too high spread coverages, stopping the pass first. New England's kind of still going back to Bill Belichick's roots. They're still living in a single high world on the defensive side of the ball, but doing some unique stuff in their own right in what they do with their bear fronts, what they do with 5-man lines, and oftentimes having their edge rushers be coverage players as much as they are pass rushers. Especially on early downs. They do a lot of interesting stuff from that perspective to sort of shut down screen games, shut down quick passes. And I just think you saw it in this game. They're very physical along the line of scrimmage. You're not going to necessarily be able to run on them. And then they have dudes on the back end as well. Like, this is a very complete defense in New England. And they have a bunch of, like, versatile matchup weapons like Kyle Duggar. I mean, like I talked about, their edge rushers being able to drop in coverage as well. I just really think that this defense is not going to – no one's going to expose this team kind of the way we saw Buffalo get exposed this past weekend.
I'm excited to see how they continue to build around Mac Jones as well. Already looking to the offseason a little bit. I know they're, like I said, deep playoff contenders. Rookie quarterbacks don't go to the Super Bowl, but they will be competitive in the AFC. They have a cost-controlled quarterback, obviously on a rookie contract with Mac Jones. They've invested a ton already on both sides of the ball this recent free agency, but I think they can continue to invest in playmakers, specifically at the receiver position, and continue to add on defense with the contract, the cap space they still have, even after breaking the bank last season, and the draft capital that they do have. I think New England is in a prime spot with Mac Jones, and I'm not saying Mac Jones is better than Trevor Lawrence, this is the quarterback of the future, whatever, but I still think he's enough. And on this rookie contract, if he plays as well as he is now, they will be winning football games, and a lot of them. 1 p.m. slate, Sunday, kicks off with an absolute dud from the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills are favored by 7 at home. I bet the Bills and bet them heavy. Josh Allen, statistically, had his worst game since Week 4 of 2019. Lowest single-game grade here at PFF since Week 4 2019. And now, we've talked about Josh Allen and his regression or whatever, and like he was never going to be as good as last year, but it was going to be better than what we saw in 2018 and 2019. This offense ranks 19th in explosive pass rate. Josh Allen has the most combined dropped interceptions and regular actual caught interceptions. This Josh Allen is not playing well. And it's been up and down. It's been inconsistent. It's been reminiscent of that gunslinger we saw in Wyoming and at Wyoming, and that gunslinger we saw the first 2 years. The inaccuracy hasn't been as good as last year. Seth Galina tweeted out he's had one good season in the last 8 years he's played, being somewhat sarcastic, but still, this Josh Allen isn't enough. Ranks outside the top 10 in PFF grade, and with this Bills defense giving him as much as they did to Jonathan Taylor on the ground, I don't know. We should definitely be looking at how Josh Allen is playing and some of this inconsistency and maybe why it's happening.
He was only under pressure 8 times in this game, too. 37 dropbacks. Like, you can't even put it on that. He was literally just pressing. Like, he was trying to play hero ball too much. And you look at the grades this past 3 weeks. 43.1 this past week against Indy. 92.8 against the Jets. And a 49.7 against the Jaguars. That's all-time roller coaster play from a guy who, was a legit MVP candidate halfway through this season. People are talking about, is he a front runner? Is he one of those guys? We had talked about him on the show. That's terrifying come playoff time when, again, you're going to face some top defenses, some defenses that, like I just talked about with the Patriots, is probably one he's going to have to face who he has not yet faced so far this season. That's just worrisome when, like I said, that hero ball mentality or sort of tendency keeps coming out in him when they fall behind or things aren't necessarily going great, for him to want to put it all on himself and win the games for you. I mean, some of that's on the play calling and how they are a pass first sort of team, but he's got to reel that in. Like, that is going to that can turn bad in a hurry, as we saw in this game.
I want to flip to the other side of the ball as well. Obviously, you got to tip your cap for the Indianapolis Colts. Colts win 41-15 as 7-point dogs on the road. Let's talk Jonathan Taylor. Carson Wentz has also been playing well, but Jonathan Taylor right now has 1,454 total yards and 15 touchdowns. The last time a running back won MVP was when Adrian Peterson did it in 2012. At this point in time, and through week 11, Adrian Peterson had 1,323 yards and only 7 touchdowns. The pace for JT is 2,247 and 23 touchdowns. That 23 touchdowns number is going to regress. AP finished with 2,421 and 13 touchdowns. Now, we know on this podcast here at PFF, running backs are not as valuable as the top 15, top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL, let alone, the top 3 that should be in the running for MVP. However, MVP voting is always looking at the box score, always looking at these guys that are dominating. If Jonathan Taylor does clear 22, 23, 2,400 yards and has like 20-plus touchdowns, right now he has the 10th best odds to win MVP. Do you think there will be more of a conversation among voters, right? A lot of people at PFF will be like, no way, he should win it. A lot of people who just look at the most valuable players on the football field won't say he should win it. But do you think voters could start to side on the Taylor side?
Oh, yeah. I mean, for sure, I think voters could. It's still not that ingrained in people. And honestly, most valuable player is just going to be a quarterback award if you're really going to boil it down to that. And that's why it's kind of like other sports and stuff don't necessarily don't necessarily have value as the overarching reason to vote for a guy. Like, it should just, like, most outstanding player, Heisman, that sort of thing. I like that better, where it's just like, who is the best player? Because then you could actually have a debate.
Yeah.
In the NFL, everyone and their mother knows, maybe not everyone and their mother, but
a lot of mothers.
Most mothers are aware of the fact that quarterbacks far outweigh the value of every other position. But he's been excellent. I mean, there's no taking away from what he's done so far this season. It's been outstanding. But his EPA per rush since week 3, which is, or since week 4, he had those 3 kind of weeks that were slow to start the year. Since week 4, they've been far and away the best rushing attack in the NFL. EPA per rush would rank 11th over that span if it was compared to EPA per dropback in the NFL. So that's just kind of telling you how the best rushing offense is still kind of just a very fringe, high-end passing offense. But it's when you combine that with quarterback playing at a better level like Carson Wentz has of late, because defenses have to account for that rushing game. But the big reason for kind of this resurgence, Braden Smith coming back in week 8, Quentin Nelson getting healthier as the season goes on. This sort of offensive line that we talked about with the backups and Eric Fisher coming back from injury really being an issue early on this season has now transformed to one of the best in the NFL. That is why you're seeing kind of this confluence of events being and this offense being as dominant as it has.
Are you buying the Indianapolis Colts as deep playoff contenders? I'm buying the New England Patriots. I'm buying the Kansas City Chiefs. I even argue that I'm buying the Baltimore Ravens, but I don't know if I'm there yet. Those are the top 3-ish teams. You got Bills in the mix too. I'm not ready to put them in the top 3, top 4 category, even after this impressive win.
I will say they're trending in a direction that I like better than Tennessee. Now they've lost to Tennessee twice.
100%.
And probably still are behind the 8 ball in terms of like actually winning this division. But they are coming together in a much, much better way, whereas Tennessee's kind of falling apart, it seems. So as a true contender, though, to win outright in the AFC, I still don't trust. I mean, like we've seen Carson Wentz when he cannot rely, when he has to do it. Not when Jonathan Taylor isn't rolling for 100+ with ease. When he has to do it, we've seen how that goes.
On to Bears-Ravens. Ravens, I think, were originally favored by 6 points on the road in Chicago. Then the news comes out late that Lamar Jackson is likely not to play and then ultimately inactive due to a sickness. Bears were still 2-point dogs at home with Tyler Huntley under center, who got a lot of the reps in practice, so it wasn't like a late scratch or anything, but 2-point dogs at home to Tyler Huntley. Justin Fields doesn't play all that well. He gets hurt. Andy Dalton has a late surgence, but not close enough. Ravens still win this game and cover 16-13. Losing to Tyler Huntley at home, in and of itself, should be at least rumored to be a fireable offense. Mm-hmm. The fact that when Tyler Huntley was named the starter and your team isn't even a favorite at home shows just how bad the Chicago Bears football team is. They can't figure out with Fields. They can't figure out with Dalton. They have a ton of injuries on the defense side of the ball. It's an older roster. This was the last straw for me in terms of setting this thing on fire. We need to move on from ownership. We need to move on from coaching staff. And we need to identify someone who can come in and actually.
This was the last straw for you?
This was the last straw for me.
I mean, they bit out of straws for like weeks. Like, I mean, they're living on borrowed time. I thought. I didn't think anyone was looking for any other reason to like really say that's it for this coaching staff and front office. I mean, I think we found
I was
all
looking
the
for more
reasons.
reasons. I was looking for more reasons, but this one was ultimately the straw that broke the camel's back for me. Like this, you can't. I don't care if Fields gets hurt. You can't lose to Tyler Huntley at home. You can't lose to Tyler Huntley at home, let alone be a 2-point dog when the spread adjusts. Yeah. That shows just the doubt in this roster. It shows the doubt in this team to actually overcome any levels of adversity. And I'm out on the Bears, and I think they need to set fire to this thing.
The Ravens are kind of I mean, I've been out on the Bears. Like I don't think that's really a debate. I think I said that last week on the mailbag. But the Ravens are more interesting to me because they kind of squeak by. Like they have to 3-point win at the Bears, 2-point win against the Lions. They've had some like oddly close wins, and now we're talking about the AFC. They're a half game out of first. They're 7-3. Their Titans are still in first at 8-3 after their loss, which we'll get to here in a second. But the Ravens have to be kind of thanking some higher power because they have not. It hasn't seemed like a 7-3 type of football team, right? They have not. They have gotten blown out in games at times this year, and again, like I said, played the Lions close, played the Bears close, obviously with backups, but surviving this was a massive W for them because we've talked about how much this bye could mean, and they kind of are in a very good position to still secure that now. Obviously, a very difficult AFC North, but the Ravens have to be, like I said, thanking a power above. That
it's been a wild season.
The top of the AFC North. Oh yeah,
wild season for Baltimore.
AFC. So 2 of the last 3 weeks, the top team in the AFC has lost to the worst team in the AFC.
Yeah. And
how does that happen?
I also say that the Ravens have battled a ton of injuries. I mean, they've had even preseason like Peters, Gus Edwards, Jacob Dobbins, and they've had so many. And now Lamar Jackson and it's been an insane year. You could argue that they've been one of the teams, or if not the team, most impacted by injuries this year.
Stanley, Rashad Bateman.
It's been a battle. Yeah. And they blew out the Broncos on the road in early October, blew out the Chargers middle through that, but then lose bad to the Bengals at home. It's been an up and down. It's been an up and down season for the Baltimore Ravens, but they still find themselves at 7-3.
They're not alone. It's been the weirdest AFC at the very least has been just so parody-inducing. I don't know. There's a lot of parody in the AFC. So
I'm buying Baltimore over Tennessee, though. I'm buying Baltimore if Lamar Jackson can come back healthy. I think they're the better football team. And I think Tennessee, I don't think the Derrick Henry impact is some of this. But even with Derrick Henry this year, They rank 13th in EPA per play on offense and 12th in EPA per play allowed on defense. They have not been the number one AFC team that their record states. They have not been that good. I think Sam Monson on the NFL podcast spoke to, they've been built on stilts a little bit all season. Yeah. They've battled a ton of injuries at receiver. A.J. Brown actually played well in this one, but Tannehill not enough. Like I'm interested to get to that Titans game. Let's just keep moving forward. Lions-Browns. My God. The Lions and the Browns this season have been wildly disappointing. And we've been on this podcast, we've searched for reasons why. It's been OBJ, it's been injuries, along the offensive line, injuries at running back and all this stuff. But let's get ahead of this. It's QB. Yeah. Baker Mayfield has not played well this year. It's been inconsistent, roller coaster in every facet of the game, pocket presence, all this stuff. I'm going to list off the only quarterbacks that have graded worse than Baker Mayfield this year. Justin Fields, rookie. Taylor Heineke. Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, another rookie, Jared Goff, Davis Mills, a rookie, Trevor Lawrence, a rookie, and Big Ben. Only 8 quarterbacks have graded lower than Baker Mayfield, and all of them you wouldn't call even have a shot of grading higher than Baker Mayfield ahead of the season. He has been you could argue he's been the most disappointing quarterback this year. No one had high hopes for Fields, Wilson, Mills, or Lawrence in year one. Everyone saw Ben Roethlisberger fading late last season. Baker Mayfield was supposed to take this ascent, right? Like he was supposed to, in year 2 with Kevin Stefanski, actually progress. And it just hasn't happened. One of the most inaccurate seasons we've seen from Baker Mayfield, highest rate of turnover-worthy plays, and just not figuring it out under pressure. At this point, we talk about being slow to go on this contract extension. They might have to start thinking about actually how they want to address the quarterback position sooner rather than later.
I mean, he's hurt. I'm not too, if I'm a Browns fan, I'm not pushing the panic button that hard. I'm sitting Baker Mayfield. He was not healthy. He should not be out there because he is not playing good football, because he is not capable of it right now, because he's got a torn labrum, has the hip injury. He's got all this injuries piling up to where you are not yourself. And he is quite obviously, because he's worse than at any point we've seen him in his entire NFL career. And that's not how quarterback progression. College. Yeah, exactly. That's not how quarterback progression goes. The man is hurt. Sit him down, play the backup, let him get healthy. There's no reason to be subjecting him to these hits. His wife or whatever saying, he's a warrior and had to battle or whatever on her Instagram. It's I
didn't see that.
At some point, there's being a warrior, there's playing through injury, there's the willingness to do that, and there's also the cognizance of I'm hurting my team by being out there, and that's where he is right now.
So you think it's I mean, if it's all because he's not healthy, then obviously the panic button.
It's not all obviously decision making is still decision making, but he's missing more throws than at any point in his career.
The accuracy stuff is probably the biggest concern, right? Because you haven't not seen him be this inaccurate with the football.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not a concern. The dude's hurt. He's physically. You don't just decrease accuracy again. Later on in your career, you decrease accuracy because your body's not capable of being as accurate.
Before we get to – where am I heading here? Before we get to Texans-Titans, X-Chair, a new sponsor of Tailgate. Working from home is more important now than ever. Optimize your home office with an X-Chair and our many accessories to enhance your focus, productivity, energy, and comfort. Once you feel the customized support of X-Chair's patented dynamic variable lumbar or DVL, there's no going back. We got the X-Chair here in the office. Every single person in this office asks me to sit in it at least once or twice. You need to get it. It's all in the LMX massage and temperature regulation, exclusively designed and made for X-Chair with versatile comfort and extraordinary design. X-Chair fits any space. High performance, quality engineering, extreme comfort. Those are all reasons I love my X-Chair. Now I can't wait to be at work. And sometimes, even if I'm not working, I sit in my X-Chair just to get that feeling. Take my advice. Try X-Chair for yourself, risk-free for 30 days. Go to xchairtailgate.com now. That's X-Chair, TAILGATE.com, or call 1-844-4XChair for $100 off your first order. X-Chair has a 30-day guarantee for complete comfort, and you can finance your purchase for as little as $30 a month. xchairtailgate.com. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the link in the description below. Love to see it. Texans at Titans. Sam Monson on the NFL podcast tweeted out a clip where he kind of talked about this game as a trap game, in that Titans have been built on stilts, maybe looking ahead to the Patriots in Week 12. They got the Texans at home, favored by 10. They shouldn't lose this game. No one showed up to play in this game. It was easily Ryan Tannehill's lowest graded game since 2018. That's how bad it was. Both sides of the ball for Tennessee outside the top 10. I already mentioned that. I'm not buying this Titans team over the New England Patriots. I said I was going to ring it throughout the show. New England Patriots, for me, are comfortably like chugging along, moving ahead of some of these teams that are fading down the stretch. To lose the Texans, not just lose, but lose as bad as they did. They were never in control of this game. Is a huge indictment on this Titans team. And I think they need to bounce back in a hurry, but I don't know if they can.
Yeah, I mean, we never thought they were as good as the record. Like, we were always saying they're kind of paper tigers. They're still a good football team. This was a fluky game. I mean, the pouring rain. Ryan Tannehill, 7 turnover-worthy plays. The most of any quarterback in a game this year. I actually need to go back and find out how many that's the most. I can't recall seeing 7 in a game. I think maybe Ryan Fitzpatrick had that many in a game a few years back. But that is rare. No one else has even had 6 turnover-worthy plays in a game so far this season. Just a brutal performance from him. But yeah, it's kind of just talks this to me is about the susceptibility of everyone this year. There are very few complete teams in the AFC, at least. I think the NFC is much better, but there's very few teams that week in and week out you're saying I feel very good about them, and that's why we're saying the Patriots best defense in the AFC, and then an offense that, while it may not be super explosive and super like dynamic, I'm worried about the Patriots offense putting up 30 on us this week. They're consistent. Mm-hmm. They'll get 20 every week. Like they'll be on schedule. They have a very good offensive line. They're not going to turn the ball over. So I think that's why we're gravitating towards the Patriots.
Mac Jones only continues to improve as well as he gains more experience. And I do think that consistency is what you need to lean on as you get closer to these late months where it is going to be pouring rain, where it is going to be colder. I think the Patriots do have that consistency. We didn't bring this up in the Catch and Early Buzz, but Florida obviously fired Dan Mullen. And now there's odds out, according to Bet Online, who will be the next coach. Billy Napier, the Louisiana coach and friend of the show, is the favorite. Kiffin short after, Cristobal, etc. Tim Tebow, though, 100-1 odds. Who says no? Why not Tebow? Tebow has at least called, right? They didn't call Tebow, but Tebow has at least called.
Tebow's not a coach. He's not a coach. He's not going to coach.
Not a college coach?
No, he's not going to coach.
You don't think?
I don't think he wants to coach.
I would be very interested in seeing Tim Tebow as a coach. I'm just saying. It'd be worth it. It'd be worth it from a fun-to-watch perspective, which we'll get to later. I think it would be worth it. Packers at Saints. Brutal loss for your shareholding Green Bay Packers. This was one of the best games to watch on TV,
Packers-Vikings.
Oh, sorry. Packers-Vikings. Packers-Vikings. Vikings were 2-point dogs at home. Vikings win 34-31. And what was one of the, if not the most entertaining game of the weekend. And they didn't even get good Kirk Cousins. Most turnover-worthy plays in a single game for Kirk since 2020. Didn't grade all that well, even though he's been a top 5 graded passer all season. Where it really showed up, Justin Jefferson was phenomenal in this one. Darnell Savage missed some opportunities. I know that. The drop picks and stuff like that. But still, going toe-to-toe, this was a wide receiver battle for me. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, both. Play in and play out. We're dominating this one in an all-out shootout.
Yeah, the Packers had done a very good job all year of kind of hiding their cornerbacks, and they got exposed in this one. The Vikings did well offensively to get one-on-ones on the outside, which one-on-ones with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen against Rasul Douglas, Eric Stokes, and Kevin King that's a dub. And you saw that. And now the Packers still had their opportunities. I think that was the biggest sort of takeaway from me is that Darnell Savage could have had 4 picks in this game. He was legitimately he had one called back by a roughing the passer call, which was roughing the passer, sadly, as much as I hate to admit it.
No, that was I looked at that one closely.
That one was.
That was.
I will give you that. But then he had the one that was kind of got broken up by Adam Thielen, had the one at the end of the fourth quarter that I was screaming about, and then I was like, that one I was like a little borderline that it should have gotten overturned because there wasn't a look, at least that we saw on TV, of the ball hitting the ground. Like I know it bobbled, but we never saw the ball cleanly touch the ground. But obviously it more than likely did hit the ground. But then there was the one where he got called for PI where if he would have just turned around, he was in a better spot to get to the ball than Justin Jefferson. So there were the opportunities there to be made. The Packers just flat out did not make them. And Rodgers was kind of not himself in the first half, even though he fucking lit the world on fire in the second half. That was one of the best halves of football.
Well, he said he's got the injury, right?
I mean, any quarterbacks played all season. He was just, that dude didn't miss a throw down the stretch. But so unfortunate for the Packers, but the biggest loss to me, Elgton Jenkins.
Yeah, of course.
Like, if they were banking on the fact that when David Bakhtiari comes back, this was going to be a game-changing type of offensive line with Elgton Jenkins, Bakhtiari, and as well as some of those young guys have played. And now all of a sudden, I mean, in the meantime, without Bakhtiari, it could be ugly with Yosh back at left tackle.
I do think one of the more entertaining things of the weekend, too, was Aaron Rodgers' post-game press conference about the injury, where he was like, they were asking about what is it? Like, what is this toe injury? What's going on? Is it like turf toe like what Devontae had? And his immediate response was, no, it's not turf toe. It's way worse than turf toe. And I was like, okay, hardo, what the fuck is it then? Okay, why are you playing on it? If it's worse than turf toe is like legitimately awful.
Yeah.
Oh, no. He literally was like, no, it's not turf toe. It's way worse than turf toe. Okay, buddy, if it's worse than turf toe and you're out here grinding, do you want a cape too, Ben Roethlisberger? I mean, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I do think that the injury has to be hampering him, right? He went in early at the half because it's bothering him.
Yeah, it was such a weird scenario. Like, he could have thrown a Hail Mary there, or at least like one play to the sideline, because they got the ball back to like 35 or something.
Yeah.
But no, he's in the tunnel.
Well, he said his toe was hurting.
Yeah.
And it's worse than turf toe, Mike.
Yeah.
Give him a chance. Dude.
You had to go rub some clay on it.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, he said, that's another point, too. He said, I hope to get some healing. It's like, dude, what the hell? That's the verbiage. I don't understand it. All right. Dolphins at Jets. Jets 3-point dogs at home. Dolphins win comfortably. And I will say, this is the best pass protection Tua Tagovailoa has gotten his entire career. Only 7 pressure dropbacks in this game. And not a lot come from the tackles, some from the interior and stuff like that. I think the tackles only combined for 7 total pressures allowed. Austin Jackson kicked into guard, actually had 0 pressures allowed for one of the few times he's had that in his career. They didn't ask Tua to do a ton. I think he had a 5.1 average depth of target, a lot of his stuff coming after the catch, only 4 total attempts, 10-plus yards downfield. But it was enough, and it was enough to operate against a very bad Jets football team.
Wait, were you seeing only 7 pressures allowed? I'm seeing 12 pressure dropbacks on.
I only saw 7.
I'm seeing under pressure, 35% of his dropbacks, yet again, because that's just how Tua operates. But he was very good on this. I thought he played well. I will say, though, the pick was rough. But the worst play to me in that game was he had a free play. They had a D-line, a nose tackle, jumps off sides. He has a free play, threw it out of bounds. I was so upset. I was like, that.
Did he know it was a free play?
No, he had to have known it was free play. Not one, because it's a nose tackle who jumped. Like, you literally see that when you're in the shotgun. You see that it was a nose tackle who jumped. And 2, like, he's rolling out to his left and sees a flag, like, flying through the air, or has to at least at some point have crossed his vision. And he just throws out of bounds. I was like, that just is a lack of awareness that I cannot get on board with. That would worry me if I'm not too much, but, like, that's just – I couldn't believe that. And also then that bomb he had where he had to put about everything into it to get it about 50 yards on the football field was a little tough to see.
I mean, the arm strength stuff is a continued joke, I guess.
But yeah, his accuracy is – I mean, it was very good in this game. He didn't miss a lot of throws, 27 to 33 for 273.
Like you said, though, only 4 attempts, 10-plus yards downfield. They were not pushing the ball downfield. And you don't have to.
They just don't have time. Yeah. You're never going to have time.
Offensive line, you hate to see it. How about for the Jets, man? Joe Flacco didn't look terrible in this one. Plus 1.5 passing touchdown.
I mean, if you're a Jets fan, you just have to be like, you'd rather see anyone but Joe Flacco right now, you know? Like, there's no reason. Now, Elijah Moore balled out. Fantastic game from him. That is your sort of silver lining for this game. I think he had 8 catches for 141 and a score and looked legitimately – electric in the process doing so. That's obviously, and the thing about Elijah Moore is, he played slot at Ole Miss. We called him probably a guy who's going to get pigeonholed in the slot because of his size. He's playing outside receiver there, and he's looking good too, and he's winning from the outside. So that's always good to see. But again, it's like you'd rather see Mike White out there 10 times out of 10. You don't give a shit about what Joe Flacco
Develop a
like.
young quarterback before you prioritize wins and stuff. But I guess a lot of this you're trying to evaluate other players too, right? You're trying to you got to see if Elijah Moore can swing it too. Over the last 4 weeks, yards per route run leaders: Deebo Samuel, Justin Jefferson, Elijah Moore, and Devontae Smith are the 4 in highest yards per route run average. Elijah Moore balling out with the Jets of late. Saints at Eagles. Eagles are rolling. Eagles win big as 1.5-point favorites, 40-29. Jalen Hurts, I think there's going to be a lot of conversation. We've already had some of it on this podcast about what do they do at the quarterback position. There is enough with what Jalen Hurts has done to have some interest in building around him and wanting to keep him a part of the plans. However, I will say, if they do love one of these quarterback prospects and he is available with one of their 10 to 20 first-round picks in that 10 to 20 pick range, I still don't think if you love a prospect, Jalen Hurts should keep you from adding that competition. That doesn't mean you give him the job outright. That doesn't even mean you let him start for a year. But if you do love a quarterback prospect, I still like the idea to compete. But that doesn't mean you're giving up on Jalen Hurts. Again, a lot of people think when you're talking about quarterback, like, oh, you bring a first-round pick, that's burning a first-round pick. No, those picks have value. Jalen Hurts has value. If he starts to ball out, none of it all matters, and you can move on from that first-round pick. I still think that you want to compete there just because they have the capital to do so. 3 first-round picks, why not do that? I still stand by that, even though Jalen Hurts is playing well, and there's enough there to want to build around him.
Yeah, he's playing well, but it's like keeping context why he's playing well. It's because they have started to, and we talked about in the preview show, they've started to be this run-first, grind it out behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL type of team. And with option looks that Jalen Hurts can afford you, and with sort of how that takes back numbers in the running game, they have been dominating on the ground. They are the second in terms of EPA per play since I said they went run heavy in like week 5, since they really transitioned to being that run first type of football team. Second best EPA per run behind only the Colts, who we said, MVP type candidate, and they're doing with Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, this like trio of backs who no one would say are, Jonathan Taylor level of dominant, but they are getting similar results, again, because they have this very, very good offensive line and Jalen Hurts, who's obviously a dynamic runner in his own right. So that's helping a lot. I mean, he hasn't, last 4 games, he hasn't had even 200 yards passing in any of these. They have in terms of EPA per dropback, they're 16th in the NFL. They are an average passing attack, but a very good rushing attack because of what Jalen Hurts affords you. So I will still say, the results have been good. Not so much so that we're like going to, again, pass on the chance of elite quarterback play. But you got to give Jalen Hurts credit. Like, he is not, making necessarily those mistakes with the football. He's not losing you games for sure. And they've been winning of late.
What do the Saints do? On the other side of this, Saints are 5-5.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have injuries at quarterback. Trevor Siemian is playing football for the New Orleans Saints. An older roster, an expensive roster. We talk about Russell Wilson. We talk about Aaron Rodgers. Like, what the hell is next in line for the Saints? I know you've talked a big game, and rightfully so, about Sean Payton and how he's coached this year. But in terms of long-term success, in terms of seeing the Saints as deep playoff contenders, they don't have the horses to do it, specifically under center. I think they're another team that needs to try and make a significant move in the offseason for a QB.
Yeah, I thought they would have been in play for Cam Newton, honestly. But at this point, it's like you're screwed. It's like that's the most valuable position. That's why we talked about all offseason that they could be in the market for, like, about the quarterback position there, and Jameis Winston, this being obviously a make-or-break year for him. But, yeah, the Saints are just behind the 8 ball. There's no options here.
Before we get to football team at Panthers, Manscaped just launched new products, including their all-new Ultra Premium Body Wash and 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. It's time to give yourself, or someone who needs it, the gift of beautiful skin, hair, and balls this holiday season. Go to manscaped.com and use code PFF for 20% off and free shipping. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the signature Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to reduce cuts on your nuts. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower or snow or sleet. Doesn't matter. They've also just launched their new 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner, which has key ingredients with benefits that include hydrating, nourishing, conditioning the scalp, strengthening your hair at the same time. 'Tis the season to to load up on Manscaped products. So get yourself, your dad, your brother, and friends the best gift of all, the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with code PFF at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code PFF. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year. That's the best end to an ad tag I've ever seen. Clean up your nuts, not for Santa, but to make him proud. What have you done to make Santa proud this year?
Does Santa get proud of you? I've never heard of that as the thing.
Not you, you freaking piece of shit. When's the last time you shaved your nuts for Santa? I'm asking, when is the last time you shaved your nuts for Santa?
I do it for myself.
Oh, wow.
I don't need his approval.
Fair enough. Santa's turned down. All right, football team at Panthers. Panthers favored by 3.5. Man, Cam Newton to start this game was lava, and this offense was humming. Christian McCaffrey playing well. That throw to Christian McCaffrey was sick.
Yeah.
But I think you have in your notes here too, like conservative down the stretch, the offense kind of stalls. On the other hand, the roller coaster that is the prodigy or the prodigy of Ryan Fitzpatrick that is Taylor Heineke. The roller coaster struck the high side of variance, man. That fourth down play he had was dope, stretching it out long enough to get the ball out there. I think this game could have gone either way. It felt like a coin flip at the time, and ultimately Heineke made better plays late in this game to win them this football game on that key drive. But I will still stand by. The Panthers have something positive in Cam Newton, and he's still adjusting to the offense, still adjusting to the playbook, etc. There is no reason to go back to Sam Darnold when he's back healthy. I don't even think there's reason to go back to P.J. Walker. Finish this season out with obviously a fan favorite, a Charlotte favorite in Cam Newton to close out this year, and then reassess the 2022 quarterback market in the offseason. Don't hitch your wagon to Sam Darnold, in my opinion. Look to Brock Osweiler, trade that guy. And then with Cam Newton, obviously, I don't see him as the long-term answer either. You need to go get aggressive at youth, in my opinion, for a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that one all week. They're also, though, in a position where it's easier said than done with where they're going to be at and where, the rest of the NFL is going to be at in terms of needing a young quarterback. Cam Newton in this one, though, he's somewhere along the line, he turned into this conservative Cam. Like back in when he was MVP Cam Newton, he averaged 10.9 average depth of target. They were downfield. His first read or his first look was intermediate, past that linebacker level. Somewhere, and I point to the drafting of Christian McCaffrey as that somewhere. His eyes started to dip and said, I'm going having two options. One's the underneath, one's the guy, like I said, at the intermediate second level behind the linebackers. He would go to the underneath guy. And he has consistently been that. So 10.9 average depth of target that year. They won the MVP. 11 the next season. This year, 5.4 in this game. 7.3 last year with New England. He has just not been that guy. 7.6 back in 2018 when he was last full season with Carolina. I don't know what happened, but it's really, that to me is the bigger sort of like, you're not going to win a lot of games purely via underneath. And it's like, oh, great, 77.8 completion percentage. Awesome. That's didn't do much for them in this one.
Panthers now, I think, officially out of playoff conversations. I think we give them a 2 to 3% chance of making the postseason as the 7th seed. Don't see that happening. Panthers ultimately on their way.
I don't know. I wouldn't write them out. 2%. I mean, like, no one's good in the NFC. No one's good outside that top tier of the NFC. There's not a lot of teams I'd trust after the Cowboys, Cardinals, Rams, Packers, Bucks.
You wouldn't write them out.
So that's what you got. That's 5 teams right there that you can put in the playoffs. 2 more spots. What
you should bet that.
You think the Niners? You like the Niners better than them right now? You like the Saints better than them right now? I mean, I probably like the Vikings better than them right now, but that's the only team with a better record ahead of them that I like better than them.
What about? Philly?
Yeah, I probably like Philly better than them right now, but it's like Panthers do have very good defense. I don't know. I wouldn't write them off the playoffs. That's all I'll say.
Don't write them off. Don't write off the Carolina Panthers. You should bet that. You should find the odds for what they are to make the playoffs, because I'm telling you right now, it's fucking low.
Let's see
Very low. You take a look at that while you get on to the next game here. 49ers at Jags. And I would take the Niners over the Panthers right now. They're rolling. Jimmy G over the last 4 weeks, I think, is highest graded quarterback. They win big, 30-10 over the Jags. Jags were 6.5-point dogs at home. Some people are talking about, Trey Lance is the future, but Jimmy G's playing really well in this offense that's predicated on yards after the catch. Everyone knows the statistic that a lot of his passing yards come after the catch. He's got a low average depth of target. Debo is getting snaps out of the backfield and catching passes near the line of scrimmage and winning that way. But Jimmy G playing as well as he is, and maybe they do want to hitch their wagon to Trey Lance in 2022, do you see some teams calling for Jimmy G in the offseason to bring him in if they do want to go after and start Trey Lance in 2022? How do they approach this, right? Like, if Jimmy G continues to play as well as he is, do you just not start him in 2022? You can't do that, right? I mean, you have to do something at the quarterback position.
I mean, you're not going to pay him $27 million, though, next year. I don't think anyone's coming for him, though, at that price point. So he's probably just going to get cut. But
he's just going to get outright cut?
Yeah. I mean, as he's not playing that well. Like, he's playing okay football.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you bare basement Teddy Bridgewater level.
Which I think okay football is worth a lot. Okay football is worth a lot in this league where there's a lot of dumpster football out there.
I mean, Teddy Bridgewater's got traded for, at his price point, got traded for what? Was it 5th?
I could see that for Jimmy G. I could see. You're
I
not
would
going to
be
just cut
surprised
him,
if
would
he
you?
got that. And that was at even a lower price point then because they ate a bunch of that salary. I think they're going to cut him outright because they saved $25 million against the cap to do so. So I do think that is ultimately where it goes with that, especially with, Trey Lance going into year 2. More interesting side of the ball here to me is the Jaguars and what they do, especially with the coaching staff, because I am less and less impressed as the weeks go on and as changes aren't made to this offense and basically just now they don't have talent at receiver anymore. Like, everyone that was talented is either hurt or they didn't have a lot of talent to begin with.
Yeah.
So
it was so
it's
overstated how good their receiving core was. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Offseason talking about DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault, Marvin Jones Jr. It's like, no. Chark, I know some of them got hurt, but this is not a good receiving core. Offensive line also isn't good. And you have a new coaching staff. This whole thing was overstated since the jump.
Yeah, I mean, Stephen Ruiz, who works for the Ringer, tweeted out all his clips of all his incompletions, and you just go back and watch, and it's like, it really hasn't been necessarily his fault. He's not making the bad decisions that he was early on in the season. Like, those have kind of gone by the wayside. There's just not good decisions to be made. There's just not opportunities for him out there is the problem right now. So I am, like I said, very unenthused with the way this coaching staff has tried to help him out and tried to alleviate that this season.
Panthers are plus 650 on DraftKings Sportsbook to make the playoffs. Worth the bet if you're keen. 6.5 to 1. All right, Bengals-Raiders. I am the kiss of death for the Bengals. If I like the Bengals, they win. If I hate the Bengals in a week, if I like the Bengals, they lose. If I hate the Bengals or say they're not going to cover or whatever, they end up winning outright. My Raiders at home, 1-point dogs, lose 32-13. Two things. Derek Carr is playing like shit. He's got more turnover-worthy plays in the last 3 games than he has like almost over the last 2 years combined.
Henry Ruggs effect.
Henry Ruggs effect is in effect. But I also think, like, the fumbles, he has 70 fumbles since 2014, most of any player in the NFL. Yeah. Like, there was a lot of...
Since 2014.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a very Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones is up there since, like, 2018 or whatever. But the Raider Nation, if you will, the fans, took a turn on Derek Carr in this game. I saw a lot of the Raiders fans that I follow or whatever calling for his job, and it's finally over. It's time to end the era. It's time to end the era. And you have him in the press conference that, like, they've had losing season after losing season over the past, since 2014. He's like, it's all on me. It's all on me. And it is. It is all on him at a certain point. Like, him not elevating above this top 12 to 14 QB that he's always been with how shitty this roster is always what's going to be the problem. That's why I said from the jump, this Raiders team, from a roster perspective, is not going to be good enough to take a Derek Carr to the postseason. It's why they should trade him and get value for him, because you are going to be consistently trying to build a supporting cast that can elevate Derek Carr into this 8 to 6 range that you need to go to the deep postseason. And then defensively, they just got absolutely exposed against the run. They couldn't really rush the passer on Joe Burrow. He's getting the ball out quick or whatever. But in the run game, this run defense was horrendous. Gave everything they wanted to Joe Mixon, especially on the edges. It was a dismantlement, man. This was an ugly, ugly game, a throw out the tape game for the Raiders.
I will say, we've given a lot of shit to Zach Taylor on this podcast. So giving some credit where credit's due. He threw up some dope concepts in the run game. The fake flea flicker was sweet.
Yeah, that was
could have gone for a much bigger play than it went for. But then the wind-back touchdown where he gets J.D. Spielman. Is that who it was? Lead blocking on a little like...
Oh, yeah. No, it's not. It's Stanley Morgan.
Stanley Morgan. She's other Nebraska receiver. Stanley Morgan, lead blocking on the jet motion. That was sick as well. Like that, those were two cool concepts that really threw kind of the defense for a loop and aren't really, those aren't like traditional run game. That's like you don't base your run game off of those concepts, but to throw those in as kind of wild cards and to hit them both for big plays was pretty awesome in that game. The problem, though, is still for this Raiders team that Derek Carr is protecting one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
That he had a 40% pressure rate against a below-average defensive line. That's unacceptable. Like that's not winning football. We said it's going to go in the tank when without Henry Ruggs, because that speed threat is irreplaceable in any offense. And you get Bryan Edwards, though. They are going 23 routes without a single target in this game because he's not a separator. We've been tracking man coverage win rates this year. He's bottom 10 in the NFL for starting wide receivers, Bryan Edwards, so far this season. And that's why you're not getting a target, unfortunately. So they just do not have the supporting cast anymore that's even close to being able to win with.
Do you agree that they got to blow it up? Like, I mean, what do you do? I mean, there's so many picks on defense, too, where they're just not panning out. Abram played like shit in this game. Linebackers are just castaways from other football teams. Yeah. Defensive backs, I mean, they're starting Brandon Faison out there, and no one even half the NFL fans don't even know who that is. Like, they need help so aggressively that I do think that hitting a hard rebuild and getting – I mean, what do you think you could get for Derek Carr if you trade Derek Carr?
Here's the problem. Plus? It's like you want to get all these picks, but then – you see what they've done with those picks.
Yeah, I know. But that I don't think you can look at it like that. John Gruden is no longer making decisions for this football team. You have to think he had a big helping hand in the picks that they've made, right? And, like, you can't just say, yeah, we don't trade for picks because we're not good at drafting. It's like, okay, then you need to get better at drafting. The problem isn't trading for picks. The problem is you're drafting like shit. Even if you just draft off consensus boards, you're going to end up in a better situation than you were before. I just don't think, like, trying – like we've said that we've had this conversation 1,000 times. I don't think trying to win with Derek Carr, with as shitty as this roster has been, Derek Carr's gonna be like 40 by the time you even have like a good person, like good supporting cast.
I think he's shown, like, when he had the supporting cast, that offense was good. Straight up was, but it just went in the tank, obviously. So
all right. Off this game, Cowboys-Chiefs, what I thought was going to be the game of the weekend, it just wasn't. Did not pan out. I was looking for points, man. Where are the points at? I think a lot of people will jump on like, hey, this Chiefs offense is back. It's all back. It's like, no. The bigger spotlight should be on Steve Spagnuolo, who brought his bag out for this Cowboys game. Spags. Connor McGovern gets to start at guard, which I didn't think people expected. Chris Jones plays way more in the interior than they expected, and he just shit all over him. Dak Prescott was under pressure consistently. They also didn't have Amari Cooper in this game, which is a fact. They didn't have Tyron Smith. A lot of people talked about how there were a lot of injuries on the Dallas Cowboys side, but I thought Steve Spagnuolo called a fantastic game, got after a very good offense, and then offensively, the Chiefs played well. I think Tyreek Hill was special in this one, but still, like, you're not seeing like these 30, 40-point outings that you did against the Raiders. I wouldn't say the Chiefs offense is back. I think this was just a big breakout performance for the defense.
Yeah. I mean, you have about 50% of the Cowboys' salary cap not playing in this game. You know, like you have Tyron
salary
Smith,
cap adjusted injuries is pretty
Amari
high.
Cooper, DeMarcus Lawrence. I believe those are the three highest paid guys outside of Dak Prescott now not playing. That's going to be difficult. You know, like when you're losing three of the best players, it's difficult to win. So I'm not going to like make sweeping sort of generalizations about either team heading away from this game, except for the fact that I do think the Chiefs' defensive resurgence of sorts has gotten swept under the rug. Like their offense is still, I said their offense I don't think is ever going to get back to the levels we saw from it. Like it's not going to look the same as it had in the past, because I think the book, whatever that is out there on them, is going to at least limit those big plays. Like you will not see the explosive, immediate scoring offenses that we saw in years past, because teams have a better understanding of just how the Chiefs offense works, how they generate those points. And so you're going to have to play a different game if you are the Chiefs to light up scoreboards. And they're still kind of in that adjustment phase to doing so. But this defense that was dogged early on in the season, that everyone's laughing stock of the NFL.
I mean, they were
Daniel Sorensen,
terrible.
and they were terrible, has, since that Bills game, where they got blown out, first time Patrick Mahomes got blown out after the Super Bowl, they've allowed 14.5 points per game. One of the best in the NFL since then. And yeah, they faced Jordan Love instead of Aaron Rodgers. But, and obviously, yeah, they faced the Cowboys without Tyron Smith and Amari Cooper. Okay, whatever. But they looked legitimately good in this game. And like you said, Steve Spagnuolo, all he's doing in terms of just throwing the kitchen fucking sink at opposing offenses.
Yeah.
Like he is doing everything left and right in terms of disguising coverages, bringing blitzes, not tipping his hand has been massive. And I think the two biggest things here, two big things for them going forward, Chris Jones on the interior is a much different animal than Chris Jones on the edge, where he started the season. That was dumb. That should never have happened. He is much more impactful consistently from an interior alignment. Two, trading for Melvin Ingram is a massive win. That guy can just anyone who can win one-on-ones for the Chiefs on the outside is huge, because
even 20% of the time,
because opposing offenses against the Chiefs are going to be in a lot of passing situations, a lot of obvious passing situations. And up until this point, until they traded for him, they had no one who could win those one-on-ones. You could dial up anything you wanted against the Chiefs and not have to worry about pressure. That is not the case now. This defensive line has some real teeth, and so I think this while the offense may not be back, this defense is at least competent, which it didn't look like it was going to be early in the season.
On to Cardinals at Seahawks. But before we do, this Thanksgiving, be thankful for family food and free bets. That's right. DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has a Turkey Day no-brainer you can't miss. New customers can bet just $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. You heard that first. If either team scores a point. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still get Thanksgiving NFL action. Make your first deposit, and you can play free for millions with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Football Contest. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable. Best of all, you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $1 on any Thanksgiving NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's promo code PFF this Thanksgiving at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Cardinals at Seahawks. Kyler Murray, late inactive. Seahawks were originally 2.5-point dogs. That number got close to a pick. Cardinals still win 23-13. Colt McCoy out-dueling the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson. And I know Russell Wilson, it was magic healing in his finger that got him back, but this offense is butt. And how we talked about Matt Nagy and that being the straw that breaks the camel's back. Where are you at on this Pete Carroll discussion and what maybe not losing out on Pete Carroll, maybe not firing Pete Carroll, but I think this whole thing needs a reset. Maybe even a reset under center and just a complete rebuild, because this Seattle Seahawks team has gotten bad in a hurry.
Yeah, I obviously the injury Russell is what derails the season. They're not 3-7 now without that, but it's difficult for me to throw one season under the bus because of one injury at the quarterback position. He's obviously not the guy we saw early on in the season. His two lowest graded games of the year have come the last 2 weeks to Green Bay and Arizona. Far and away his two lowest graded games of the year. He was rolling prior to that. So obviously I think it's still affecting his play. So again, I'm not going to worry too much, but not to the degree where you should put up 13 points over 2 weeks. I don't know. There's not going to be necessarily answers for the Seahawks team because, like we said, this defense is so bad. That's kind of the bigger issue to me going forward, is that they've just gotten no talent in this secondary outside of Jamal Adams, who he himself did not play great in this game. But the cornerback position, they've just ignored it for so long that they're building kind of the wrong way in the NFL, which is, by trading as many first-round picks as they have over the John Schneider era for guys who are not worth 2 first-round picks like Jamal Adams, and just letting positions that are very important, like edge, like cornerback, go completely unaddressed, and they're kind of reaping what you sow, basically, at those two positions.
As for Arizona, I think we faded them a little bit when Arizona was without Kyler Murray. They have here, Colt McCoy comes in and plays well. The defense also shows up against Seattle in an NFC where there is some more solidarity. There is some more, I think there isn't such a week-to-week league in the NFC, right? There are some obvious powers. Where are you on Arizona right now?
This was, if you're a Cardinals fan going into this game, hearing Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins are out, shit in your pants, because you're at 8-2 heading into this week. Packers are at 8-2 heading into this week. You have lost to the Green Bay Packers already. You drop a game and the Packers beat the Vikings. All of a sudden you are, I don't want to say out of the 1 seed, but that is an uphill climb for you then to get back into the 1 seed picture. The opposite happens. They win. Packers lose. Take command of the NFC. And with the way the defense has played this year, and obviously exceeded our expectations, they're in the driver's seat for sure. I think they should be considered the favorites now in the NFC.
Steelers at Chargers. Chargers favored by 6. They ultimately don't cover them. What was ultimately a bad beat if you were a Chargers backer. Chargers win.
What a fourth quarter.
I know. That fourth quarter was insane. It was great.
I went to bed before, too, man. I was like, I need to fucking work tomorrow. I need to get some sleep to work tomorrow. So I went to bed because I'm like.
So you woke up to this disaster?
Yes. I was like, do you think the Steelers are going to, put up points? And obviously – it wasn't necessarily because the Steelers' offense, but they did, and that was a fun one.
Surviving a late special teams scare. I thought this was a Chargers meltdown. I've called Chargers meltdowns, but biggest takeaway I had in this one: Deontay Johnson's phenomenal. I think there was some conversation on the broadcast about him entering this tier of like top, number one receivers in the NFL. He had a handful of really exceptional catches in this game, also some good routes. And then for the Chargers, Keenan Allen, etc., all playing well. But man, Justin Herbert. I think he had over 370 passing yards, 90 rushing yards, was excellent in this game against pressure, modified the pocket, accurate with the football. Man, Justin Herbert needs to start entering this conversation of like top young quarterbacks in the NFL, right? You're always going to put Aaron Rodgers ahead of some of these guys, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Like this I'm not saying he's in the Patrick Mahomes tier, but this next era of quarterbacks that, with Josh Allen getting that contract extension, it's not been a great year, but still Josh Allen in that conversation, Mahomes in that conversation. I think you're going to have to start putting Herbert in that conversation. I know people like Burrow as well, but football's in good hands, man, because Justin Herbert is playing exceptional football for Los Angeles Chargers, so much that in an AFC that's as rocky as it is, don't count them out, dude. They got stars on both sides of the ball. Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Derwin James, all playing well. Chargers, man, sleeping giant in the AFC.
I still like. I feel like their defense should still be better. I don't know. Like I'm a big fan of the talent on this roster. I think it's one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. Like I still just like. I don't know how they now. Obviously, they allow those. Basically the 20 or 17 fourth quarter points on the backs of special teams, punt block, weird ass pick off of Cameron Hayward's helmet, and then the fourth down call that was one of the worst fourth down calls I've seen all season. For them to just run a basic punch duo play on 4th and inches against one of the best exterior defensive lines in the NFL was, in my opinion, a little ill-advised. Obviously did not work out for them. But, yeah, I believe. I was on the show, said they were it was a couple weeks ago, said this is a top 3 team in the AFC, and I stand by that. I think they have the talent to do so. But they need to, build on this. They need to start looking like it more, because again, I've said they've kind of underachieved for how good I think. Like they have a negative points against or point differential this season so far. Still, they've gotten more points scored on them than they have scored themselves, despite being 6-4. So I'm still hopeful that they start to look like it as down the stretch here, but we shall see.
All the reason too, right? I mean, with all that talent and Brandon Staley coming in, there's some newness on the coaching staff as well. You have to hope with eventually the consistency and talent that they have at marquee positions, this will be a better football team towards the back half of the season and into the postseason. So much that, you don't want to be one of those teams in the AFC going against the Chargers, man. I think they have too much talent to be even treated as like more than 4 or 5 point dogs against any of the top powers in the AFC. All right, Giants at Bucks. I already said I'm in on the Giants plus 11. Are you sticking on Giants, or where are we at with the Bucks? Yeah, sticking. Giants plus 11, baby. Giants plus 11. Show me Tom Brady. I called out Tom Brady on Thursday. Call him out. All right, before we get to the fun to read, fun to watch segment, we have a bunch of those. Shouting out Western Southern, whether it's football success or financial savvy, the right questions help set the stage for winning strategies. Western Southern is teaming up with PFF's very own Chris Collinsworth to share insights that can help put you ahead on both your fantasy and financial scoreboards. Want to hear more about Chris's old playing days or behind the scenes with Al on Sunday Night Football? How about a need to know for your financial future? Now you can ask about either or both. And every football or financial question you ask earns you a chance to win a catered party for February's big game. Check out the Chris Collinsworth podcast on Western Southern's Instagram for answers for best questions each week. Submit your questions at westernsouthern.com/askchris. One more time, that's westernsouthern.com/askchris. If you're watching on YouTube, check out the description. The link in the description below. Remember, with Western Southern, you can rest assured on game day. Dan Orlovsky funneling or fueling our fun to read segment this week. I almost quote tweeted him on Saturday when this came out, but Trevor Sikkema told me not to because he didn't want to spark debate. Fine. Dan Orlovsky tweets out first, Chris Olave equals Keenan Allen. Which in and of itself is wild. The body comps are different. Keenan Allen ran a 4.7. Chris Olave is, from what I've heard from Ohio State defensive backs, even Ohio State receivers, he's the fastest receiver on that team.
I mean, he has a verified 4.4 in their S&C training.
Then Hayden Grove, who I don't know who that is. Hayden Grove, who is a pro and college sports social media producer and reporter for Cleveland.com, so the Cleveland Plain Dealer, said Garrett Wilson equals who? Darren Orlovsky responds, this is the best one. This is more fun to read than the Olave Allen comp. I say like a combo of Julio Jones and Devontae Adams skill-wise.
Wait, did he mean Devontae Adams?
Yeah,
what do you mean? He writes Devontae spelled like no one spells Devontae. I think Devontae Freeman might spell his name that way. He spelled it with all A's.
No, Devontae Freeman doesn't even spell it that way.
No one spells it.
I don't think anyone spells it that way. I think he had to have meant Devontae Adams.
I was thinking Devontae Smith maybe, with the weird spelling.
With the A at the end?
I don't know. But some random Devontae.
If it's a combination of Julio Jones and Devontae Smith or a combination of Julio Jones and Devontae Adams, what the fuck? My quote tweet that I have saved in drafts was, I think you forgot God himself. Which I think is not – I mean, what are you doing? When you're comping a guy to, like, two of the best receivers in the game ever? I mean, what we've seen over the past 10, 15 years? Garrett Wilson is that good?
We're going to have a segment come draft time that just revolves around bad draft comps.
I love that.
Because there's so many that get tossed around. But Chris Olave, to go back to that one, again, about 0.3 of a second faster in the 40. Now, Keenan Allen had an injury, whatever, before he ran his coming out when he ran a 4.71. Probably more like a high 4.5s guy on tape. But speed is not his game. Whereas speed very much is a big factor of Chris Olave's game. He is 24 pounds heavier, Keenan Allen is, and an inch taller than Chris Olave. Like, Keenan Allen's game is also like yak ability after the catch, not Chris Olave's game at all. There's like no comp. Like, they are not similar type of players. I don't know what the fuck that one is. But then the Julio and Devontae is just like shit at a wall. That one was...
That's not shit at a wall. That's literally like nothing at nothing. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
But it's a good...
I don't think you can actually
comp. No one is above just dog shit comp.
Can you
no matter
actually
how much football you've watched, how much you can intricately know the game. And I have no question about Darren Orlovsky's ability to break down what's happening on a football field. No one is above
a shitty comp.
The sort of like... That, just like seeing, like, when you see something on a college football field and, like, how good they are in a college football field and how much, like, Garrett Wilson cooks this Michigan State corner, it's difficult to separate the fact that Michigan State corner sucks nuts compared to what he's going to see in the NFL, you know? Like, it's absolute – it's just a different – you're seeing a different game against different competition, and it's difficult to relate that.
All right, should we get to the fun to watch?
But it was fun to read.
It was fun to read. All right, fun to watch. First one comes from Danny Werfel, former Florida quarterback, also former NFL quarterback, Heisman Trophy.
This is a first in the fun to watch.
It is. He said shortly after the Mullen news, obviously, thanks, Coach Dan Mullen, for investing in the young men that made up Gators football for the past 4 years and for an electric offense that was a ton of fun to watch. All the best. You can get fired for having an offense that was fun to watch. Why would you ever say it again?
Yeah.
Anyway, fun to watch was Dan Mullen's offense emphasis on was. Jermaine Johnson, according to Aaron McLean, who is a college football analyst for ACC Network and ESPN, Jermaine Johnson is an absolute animal, all caps. So much fun to watch. 236 likes. Can't disagree. I think Jermaine Johnson is fun to watch.
Yeah.
Last one here. From Matthew Berry of ESPN.
Animal is a good also term that means nothing.
Yeah, animal is used pretty often. We got tagged a ton in this one. Matthew Berry said, man, Ramondre Stevens is fun to watch.
That one's just the purest form.
Pure. Just, man.
Uncut fun to watch.
1,500 likes. I need to see the quote tweets.
What a take.
Definitely. Someone quote tweeted definitely. It's like someone quote tweeted Boomer Sooner, baby. It's not a compliment. Dan Mullen's offense was fun to watch. And Ramondre Stevenson could be fired tomorrow. Just ridiculous. Start using it better. Where is a
Matthew
good
Berry
use?
Is very guilty of the fun to watch. That's not his first appearance on this. Matthew Berry and Colin Cowherd, I think, are the two most abusers of the term.
I just want to see better uses of it. Better uses of fun to watch. It can't just be a tweet that's fun to watch. All right, your cake. What was your cake your pants moment of the weekend?
It was Notre Dame making the college football playoff. You see the shirt? This is the shirt from 2012. Last time they made the national championship.
Notre Dame is not going to make the playoff.
They are. Have you seen the odds? They have the 4th best odds according to PFF right now to make the college football playoff. They have outscored their opponents 119-9 in the month of November. They are coming in hot as any team in the country. They have Stanford this weekend.
They're the 5th best odds according to PFF.
Okay, 5th best odds. I saw it differently.
Which doesn't help.
But, I mean, Oregon losing now means, I'm just going to set the stage for you. It means Ohio State's playing a juggernaut. They're going to beat Michigan, which Michigan's ahead of probably Notre Dame in the rankings. Michigan's gone. Mm-hmm. You have then Georgia, Ohio State in. Cincinnati, they went out. I think that's table set for them to be in.
If Georgia beats Bama.
And then Georgia handles Bama, they're not going to reset that matchup again.
Yeah.
That no one would want to see. Mm-hmm. That would kind of like defeat the purpose of the college football playoff to have killed a team the last week of the regular season, then have to face them again to prove that you're the best team in the land. No, they're not going to put Alabama in there.
They're going to put Notre Dame in.
And so they'd put Notre Dame in.
This
now,
is
they
my
could
nightmare.
put the Big 12 winner. That's possible that it would jump them, but it wouldn't have a lot of quality wins, whoever the Big 12 winner would be. And they would also have, whether it's Oklahoma or whether it's Oklahoma State, would have a pretty bad loss on their schedule. So Notre Dame's
only loss would be to a number 3 or number. Yeah,
yes.
Wow. So
and Notre Dame would be still hot.
Notre Dame, piece of shit. Notre Dame.
They've looked good. Okay, you gotta say they've looked good.
No, they have. Over the last, I think Anthony Tresh tweeted this out. I think over the last 4 or 5 weeks, they ranked top 5 in EPA per play. They have actually looked a lot better than the start of the season. I think here's the problem with Notre Dame. They started the season off sluggish. Then they lose to Cincinnati, and everyone's just like, fuck them. Yeah. But then they've rallied back, which speaks to a friend of the pod, Brian Kelly, how much he's rallied this team back. Notre Dame is catching fire. So you're thinking the playoff's going to be Georgia, Ohio State, Cincy, Dame. Yeah. That's not a bad take.
And if Cincinnati loses.
Oh, yeah, of course. Then they're toast. Yeah, then they're toast. Cincinnati has to win out. But there's multiple ways here. There's multiple paths. There are multiple paths. Who do they have this week?
They have Stanford. Ooh, which reminds me of a good story.
You've told me this one. Yeah.
This is my very first year in Cincinnati, 2015. This was the year that Stanford game, last week of the season. I think they had 1 loss going into that game. This was Sean Kaiser's first year starter, or kind of when he took over for Malik Zaire. 1 loss going into the Stanford game. They win. They beat Stanford. They're getting in the college football playoff. I'm at this bar, and I see this girl that I had actually matched with on Hinge at this bar, sort of like in the middle of the second half, and it's kind of a tight game. I go over, start talking to her. Hi, things are going well. And obviously the game's starting to get tight, and I'm kind of trying to do both: watch the game, talk to the girl. Everything's going well. I'm with my brother, who went to Notre Dame, my old roommate from when I lived in Chicago, and then my old roommate from college who went to Notre Dame. And so we're all very invested.
Dame homers.
And if you remember this game, Deshaun Kaiser scores a rushing touchdown with maybe 40 seconds left to go up. I believe it was 2, maybe 1. To go up 1, I think it was. Rush touchdown, whatever. I just lose my mind. I'm like, that's it. We're going to make the playoff. I go start celebrating with my brother. My roommate, we're screaming. When I hit this bar, we're like, yes, they did it. They did it. And I go back to turn around to look at the girl who I said I matched with on Hinge that I'd been talking to. Her friends, out of the bar. They had all left. They apparently hated me. This is what it was. I don't know if they hated me, but they were gone within 10 seconds of me turning around. And then I'm like, whatever. Notre Dame's going to the playoffs. I could care less.
Yeah.
I could care less. 30 seconds later, Stanford rolls down, makes a field goal, game over. Stanford wins.
So you lose the girl and the game.
Yeah.
Wow. It rarely happens.
We're about to have a very fun night. It was on, I believe, a Friday or Saturday, whatever. We just went home.
Just went home. Just took defeated L.
Yep.
That sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't have a similar story. San Diego State's never been on the brink. Rookie of the week. Penei Sewell is not only rookie of the week this week, but he's been playing well, man. He's been playing well for a while now, and I think it's been understated because the Lions are absolutely shit. But Penei Sewell has been every bit the player that they wanted him to be coming out.
Yes. He hasn't allowed a pressure now the last 2 weeks, and that's after
I
switching
think 0
to right tackle.
sacks over the last 5 weeks, too.
After switching to right tackle, which we said could be an issue. Now, they've given him some help, that's for sure. It hasn't been just him going one-on-one. They haven't thrown him out to the Wolves, which is what you're supposed to do. But he's been good, even in the run game, the past couple weeks as well, above average grades in that regard. So, Penei Sewell looking like the dude we thought. Also give a shout out to Elijah Moore, We said he 8 of 9 targets, 141 yards, touchdown, looking good. And then Micah Parsons, my God. 3 guys I love in the pre-draft, by the way. Micah Parsons is just an animal. Like, straight up, watching him chase down Patrick Mahomes outside the pocket on that one sack fumble is insanity. Like, the speed with which he closes is out of this world. Like, no one's ever caught Patrick Mahomes from behind, seemingly. At least no defensive lineman. And Micah Parsons did it in about a tenth of a second. That was
Micah Parsons might be a better Julio, Devontae Adams comp than Garrett Wilson. I mean, he is like a rare motherfucker. He does not. Yeah. He looks different on the field regardless of the position he's playing. He has been phenomenal for this defense.
He's tied with Max Crosby and Myles Garrett for the highest pass rushing grade in the NFL right now.
I think it's like he's like a shoe-in to win
Rookie of the Year. If you're giving it to anyone else, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah. He is. I mean, the dude
minus 400. No other player is even more than plus 1,000. So he's walking to defense.
I mean, we said it coming out. He was the lone blue chip prospect on that side of the ball. He was the best. It was him. It he was the best linebacker prospect we've seen.
And it was off-field stuff and the character concerns that obviously spurred a lot of the other things. Last but not least, blackout of the week, Eric Stokes Jr.
Actually, this would be least.
Oh, no, least. No, last and least. Blackout of the week, Eric Stokes Jr., Green Bay Packers cornerback. Not a good day at the office seeing that Vikings offense.
Yeah, he got Justin Jefferson, if you want to make that
I don't.
Verb. 30.1 coverage grade. Not good. 102 yards in this one. Touchdown. Lost at the catch point. Blown coverages. He's actually exceeded my expectations for a rookie, but you do worry. I think the biggest thing is his catch point stuff. He has not found the ball on a number of occasions this year that have led to big plays, some mental mistakes, and especially in this one, came back to bite, sadly.
Can we actually close with this, last but not least?
Yeah.
The USFL coming in 2022 has announced their 8 teams. Spring football is coming in 2022.
Where are they going to be?
Michigan Panthers, Birmingham Stallions.
It's every year. Everyone have a Birmingham?
I don't know. New Jersey Generals.
Okay.
Houston Gamblers. Philadelphia Stars. New Orleans Breakers. Like title break. Pittsburgh Maulers. And Tampa Bay Bandits. Decide now. You have 10 seconds to decide your favorite team.
There's none anywhere close to us.
There's none even
Pittsburgh's
in the West Coast.
What? 5 hours
Pittsburgh
away?
would be the one.
Yeah.
I like the Maulers. I'll go Maulers.
I'll get Houston. I'll be a Houston fan. They deserve a team.
Houston Gamblers?
Yeah.
Love it. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Tailgate. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Until next time, our Wednesday episode. Austin Gayle, Mike Renner, Tailgate.